Hey guys, Anthony here, and welcome to Quick Shock. Today we're doing something a little different and doing a gameplay Quick Shock because the new Battlefield Hardline beta just came out, and I figured it'd be good to look at some gameplay while we talk about the changes in the beta. So first off, let's go through some of the changes. Light machine guns and explosive weapons have to be found on the map. Now, one of the complaints from the first beta was that, this just feels like Battlefield, but with cops and robbers in a city, but it's still the same game. What they've done is made light machine guns and explosive weapons like the RPGs, SMAW, SHRA. You have to pick up those types of weapons around the map instead of having them in your loadout right from the beginning. And I believe they did this to make it feel more, to the theme of cops and robbers. Having like normal machine guns and pistols. Usually cops don't run around with RPGs on their shoulder. So this change makes the game fit the theme of cops and robbers a bit better. Also with the guns, each team has separate weapons. In the beta, both the cops and the robbers had the exact same guns from the beginning. So like the cops were running around with AKs and so were the robbers, and it didn't make much sense why a cop would be running around with an AK. But what they've done is changed it so the cops start with more, your M16 or whatever like that, and the heist guys get the AK and those kind of things because, that's just the stuff that each team would have access to when you're adhering to the theme. Now, they've said both teams can eventually unlock all the guns for each team, but the starting weapons are different, and the order in which you get them is different for each side. But I like this. It helps differentiate the two sides between the cops and the robbers, and I think it's a good change. Also, they've changed something that's found in Counter-Strike, which is when you switch to different weapons, your speed changes. So in this game now, in Hardline, when you have your pistol out, you actually run faster. And it's said that they've done this to encourage sidearm use. The cops, you usually don't see them running around with machine guns, you see them running around with pistols. So they're trying to encourage people to use pistols. And in my experience playing, I've actually used the pistol quite a bit. Quickly switch to the pistol, or whenever I go inside and I have a long-range gun, switch right to the pistol, and it feels good. I've always thought in the past that you can tell a good shooter by its pistol. I'll always switch to the pistol and shoot the pistol and be like, alright, this feels good. Another thing kind of from Counter-Strike is that in Hardline, these aren't currently in the beta, but it's been announced that there is going to be 2 5v5 modes to encourage esports, to have like matches between clans, kind of like in Counter-Strike or I guess a Call of Duty or a Halo, that kind of stuff, which is different for a Battlefield game, but something I don't mind. I think it could actually open up the Battlefield community to a bigger audience because it has that competitive edge now in the 5v5 modes. Oh, and the game modes, let me get into that. First off, in the beta, they have the normal Conquest, which is, just from Battlefield 4, Battlefield 3, Conquest, you capture the points, whatever. Now, Hotwire is the interesting one. Hotwire is kind of like Conquest, but all the objectives are cars. And in order to keep the car captured, you have to keep driving the car, so it encourages you to just drive around and not park the cars, or else you don't get any points. John really liked this mode, and so do I. This is honestly my favorite mode in the beta of Hardline right now, and it's just a ton of fun. In Hotwire, it's constant action. You can get a bunch of people in cars, you can lean out the window and shoot out the window and that's a machine gun. And you can just shoot everybody, and it feels really good. Action-packed, hanging out the back of vans, blowing up giant things. It's such an action-packed, John said this the other day, all those things you saw in the Battlefield 4 trailer of people, running around or driving around and shooting each other and chases, that happens in Hotwire, and it feels amazing when you're playing it. It's such an action-packed thing. I think Hotwire alone is the reason to play Hardline, because it is just so much fun. I don't think that mode will ever get old. And the third game mode that is in the beta is called Heist. Now, this one's a bit different. I haven't put a ton of time into it, mainly because I keep dying all the time, but it's kind of interesting. It kind of reminds me of Payday 2, but a big multiplayer version of it, where basically the cops have to stop the robbers from taking all the money. At the end of the match, a helicopter comes down and you escape out of it with the money, and you have to capture key things. It feels kind of like Battlefield, where you have to go in and capture points, but then again, it feels like Payday, where you have to do certain things like get the money, and you can lock all these doors and get inside the safe and crack the safe, and it's different. I need to put more time into it to really give you an assessment on it, but Heist is also a new game mode in there. The beta has 3 maps in it: Downtown, Dust Bowl, and Bank Job. Dust Bowl is kind of like, you ever played GTA 5 out in the desert? And that's kind of what this whole map feels like, those little desert towns with just a couple of houses and stuff. And I actually, on that map, I really like the interiors. There's a lot more interiors. There's a lot more inside buildings where you can go in. There's actually stuff in there, but you can run around inside more rather than just being on an open battlefield. It feels more like an urban kind of environment where you're fighting. Dust Bowl does that really well. Downtown has plenty of inside the building places, and so does Bank Job. Bank Job is all inside of a building, which it's really close quarters. And that's one thing about Hardline. It's close quarters. Here's how I'm going to describe it. Battlefield Hardline feels like Battlefield, but it doesn't feel like Battlefield. But those are both good things. It's a Battlefield game, so you want it to feel somewhat like Battlefield. The guns feel like Battlefield and all that stuff. But the scale is smaller, which makes it feel like the whole cops and robbers thing. It's a lot more personal. There's no tanks, there's helicopters, and there's jeeps. But there's no giant tanks running around blowing up everything. Another thing that's pretty cool, I thought, just is that machine guns and any guns can do damage to vehicles. You shoot a helicopter, it takes damage. That right there shows you that it's on a smaller scale because anyone can start taking down helicopters, and I just started shooting them to get them off of us. So Hardline just feels smaller, but that's good. It feels more personal. It feels more like close quarters combat rather than a giant battlefield, everyone shooting at each other from millions of miles away. And sometimes I like that. From what I've played of the Hardline beta, it's funny because in the chat you see people the whole time going like, oh my god, this is such shit. Oh my god, this is the worst thing ever. What were they thinking? And then a bunch of other people are like, I actually kind of like it. It seems like everyone's completely split and it feels weird. But I've enjoyed it. The game doesn't take itself too seriously either. That's another thing I wanted to say. It's a lot of fun. The robbers are running around going like, fuck this, fuck that, blah, blah, blah. All these like silly sayings that they're saying. They're like, oh, fuck, grenade, oh, shit, get down. There was a donut box in downtown. If you pointed at it, it was like, we got donuts here. They want this to be a cop drama kind of thing, not a serious Battlefield simulator kind of thing, like Battlefield kind of is. And that's what it does. It feels like an overblown cop drama, balls to the walls action silliness. And I like it. The game works. You point, you shoot, it works. I think it's going to have its fans. As a shooter, if it didn't have Battlefield on it, I'd still say this is a competent shooter. From what I've played in the beta so far, we'll see. They might fuck it up for the final release. But anyways, guys, that's just what I think about the Battlefield Hardline beta. Please leave a comment below if you've played the beta and tell me what you guys think. Did they ruin Battlefield? Is it the best thing ever? Is it breathing new life into the series? I don't know. Let's talk about it. Leave a comment below. And also, if you want to help out the show, like this video and subscribe to the channel if you're not. I'll see you guys next time. And also, like us on Facebook. We need to grow that Facebook channel so you guys can get updates. Go to Facebook right now and like us. Do it!